Ba-da-ban. And we're recording. We're live. Welcome to the Movie Bros podcast, your favorite podcast that has zero intro because I'm too lazy to create one. And you come to watch and listen to people talk and debate and review their favorite movies of today and yesteryear. I am Nary Science. With me has been for a while now is Chad Valdez. Say Chad. Listen, Chad. Mike Valdez. Got the wrong Valdez.
Yeah.
There's
Wrong
two
Mike.
Mikes and two Valdezes.
Two
Yep.
Valdezes. And then we also have Mike Mercadal back.
What up?
Been a while for him. And BT's back. BT's back. Back
My
again.
Back
man.
again.
BT's back.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Uh,
Guess who's back?
All right, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, today's episode. We are doing two movies. We're doing the movie Air, 2023's Air, and we are doing Up, Pixar's Up. So those are the two movies. Is it Up with an exclamation mark or no? We know.
No,
All right.
no, just up. No.
No,
All right.
it's at up.
Up.
It's just up.
All right, so let's start off with the 2023's Air. It's Sonny Vaccaro and Nike pursue basketball rookie Michael Jordan, creating a partnership that revolutionizes the world of sports and contemporary culture. That is the official synopsis of the movie Up. It's basically the story, for those of you who don't know, the story of how Nike signed Michael Jordan to his first shoe deal and how it basically changed the entire layout of shoe contracts. For
Yeah.
that matter.
So-
It stars Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, directed and written by Ben Affleck. It's Chris Tucker's in it. There's a lot of fucking people in this movie. But
Marlon Wayans.
it's Chris Tucker's in it. Who else? Viola Davis is phenomenal in it, and Marlon Wayans is in there for like if you blink you miss him, but he's in there.
Well, he's the reason. So he plays the character at the end when they do the credits. They're like, he's the most important guy in the fucking movie. Is Marlon
Yeah.
Wayans' character? He's in there for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. They understated,
Uh,
but yes, he did. He was very instrumental.
I don't think they understate him. I think the whole point of the movie though was for this specific meeting, and he just wasn't part of this specific meeting. He was the reason why that meeting was allowed to take place. So I guess that's a whole different movie on that point. All right,
Yeah.
Mike, what did you think? What were your first initial thoughts of the movie?
At first, I was confused because I was like, "Why is Kevin Bacon in this movie?" And then I realized, "Oh, I watched The Air up there." Which is a superior basketball movie. It is the best basketball movie in my opinion. I like my wife and I watched Air, without really knowing what we were getting into, and we just kind of were like, it's going to be a talky movie, right? And it was literally just people talking, but because of like. I had to, like my wife, she's from Venezuela. She doesn't have a lot of like sports knowledge about like real. This is such an inside baseball movie that it's not even about sports. It's about sports endorsements. And I know, but you get the thing, right? It's the thing is the idiom, the expression that I'm using. No, but like the idea of like how inside industry this kind of whole thing is, to then see the big ripple effects of like sneaker culture exists because of this movie, and like so it was great seeing just people talk well. Like this movie, everyone's acting their asses off because there's nothing else. There's no special effects. There's no big set pieces. There's no action sequences. It's literally just a talky movie, and then the whole time. As the commie pinko leftist that I am, it's like, are we really? This is like in that movie Training. What is it? The Kevin Costner movie about Draft Day. Draft Day, I think is what it's called.
It's called Draft Day.
Yeah, that we're rooting for the head office executives of a football team. Like, fuck you. I don't want I don't want to cheer these people on. This has felt kind of like that, where I'm like, I'm not here to root for Nike capitalistic bullshit. You know what I mean? Like making shoes, in fact. But the whole time, that's how good the acting was, that I'm like, yeah, they did it. Oh, no, they're capitalist pigs. You know, like that whole process was That's how good this movie was. Where I was just like, yeah, everybody's kicking ass. Jason Bateman, we didn't mention, is kicking ass.
Yeah, Jason
Oh,
Bateman. Jason Bateman looks like he should be his dad from Teen Wolf 2. Like in this movie, Jason Bateman in Air looks like his kid would be Teen Wolf 2. You know what I mean? It's
So
just like
specific. It's so
no,
specific.
it's just like if they got Jason Bateman from Teen Wolf 2 and then they did that AI thing where they age him.
Yeah.
Like this is what he would look like in 30 years. It's exactly him in this movie.
Yeah.
Because this movie takes place in the 80s, and it's like this is the time frame for Teen Wolf 2, and so anyways, whatever. B, what do you think were your first impressions of the movie?
Something going into the movie, it was like I was almost hesitant to go. Like, I don't really want to, like sneak it in. But man, that just shows the brilliance of really knowing your craft and making something as, to me, mundane as a shoe deal or something, right? Making that compelling. I mean, had Matt Damon, God, this he kill it. To me, that speech he gave was so inspirational. I was like, hell, I was ready to fucking suit up. You know what I mean? It was Matt. I mean, what sold it? To me, Matt Damon just stole the show, just being normal, just how he went to that 7-Eleven and talked to the guy and got his opinions on stuff, and how he was just being regular, ordering stuff, like back in the day, that shit, that fattening stuff where he ordered, and I was like, ugh, how does he eat that shit? But it set the tone for that time period, and just the way everything was laid out, how they kept Michael Jordan almost like a Bigfoot, where you see, Michael Jordan, but you don't see Michael Jordan. And just the pacing of it, and it was like it stayed the same level. It never sped up. It never slowed down. It a nice cruising altitude, basically, and with no turbulence. And it was just acted. My only, if I could put maybe just a little bit of a criticism, was like almost squeaky clean in a way. And so I was like, why do you have cursing in this movie? Because Michael really didn't we didn't know it. At least back then we didn't know it. We probably figured he did, but you never saw Michael Jordan out of sorts back in those days. He kept his nose clean, powder clean, except for the gambling, but nobody really thought that was really bad.
Nobody even knew
I was like, why do you have that in this movie?
2 years later.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was like, okay, but other than that, man, I was like, this movie didn't put a foot wrong. It made it compelling how it all came together. And to me, just when Matt Damon gave that fucking speech, my God, man, that really just elevated. So I thought it was well done, well paced. And I was like, Ben Affleck directed this motherfucker? I mean, seriously,
he's no joke,
Ben Affleck,
man.
and he did an excellent job.
He's no joke. Good director. Like,
I think he's better than
which is amazing because
the movies he's directed.
For this movie. Yeah. But then he did that shitty ass movie I just saw, and I'm like, why did you do this? Because I watched Air, and it didn't put a foot wrong in Air, acting and directing, and then I just saw that shitbox movie he just did. I'm like, oh my God, what happened, man? Did you
he wasn't a director in that one. He wasn't the director in that one.
Obviously, but yeah, for this movie, Air.
He's very clear about doing paycheck movies. He literally has a movie called Paycheck.
Oh yeah.
He's like, you do one for them, one for and also this was also the first movie that was done through their production company that gives equity to all of the crew. It was like a big deal about how like everybody's getting a cut of this movie, including like the lighting guy and everybody. So it's like kind of a real interesting approach to filmmaking, which is a whole other podcast. But he does those shitbox movies because they pay him to. That's it,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, this if we keep it here, I just thought he didn't put a foot wrong. It was just nothing but it was pure excellence. Like I said, nice, too high. It didn't hit any bumps. It was just.
Mike, what did you think? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I loved it, man. I thought the best way to put it is that this is Moneyball for sneakerheads.
Yes. Yep.
Like, because it's basically just like, this is how the thing that I like almost get stabbed for every 2 weeks, it was made.
Yeah.
Because Jordans are awesome. I mean, you and I both talked about this, Neri. Like when we were talking about Air, it was like I think someone was like, "Oh, but I heard Michael Jordan isn't in it," and we were both like, "We don't really care. We care about how the shoe was made."
Yeah.
The star of this movie is the shoe designer guy.
Yeah.
So true. I was legitimately. I feel the same way, Mike. I feel the same way. Just to jump in and you piggyback off what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know that Mercadon and BT were like, I don't know. When I first heard about the movie, I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I was the exact opposite. I was all fucking in.
Mhm.
I heard about what the movie was about before I knew the title. They're making a movie about the deal the first deal that Michael Jordan made with Nike. And I'm like, I'm fucking in because I already know the story, right? I already knew the story, or at least most of it, and not the details, but most of the information. And I was like, I'm fucking in. Let's believe it. And then I found out that it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And two, I'm like, fuck it. I'm already in. And then they're like, hey, we're gonna have Jason Bateman. I'm like, I cannot get a bigger erection. Please stop. I'm fucking in.
Oh yeah, Affleck directing it, and you're like, I'm in the chair sitting in the theater.
I'm already here. So I was super excited about the movie. I'm a huge fan of the Jordan shoe. Even though because I have flat feet, they don't really fit me well. They hurt. The few Jordans I've ever had in my life don't really service me. Like, and so I've now, as a grown up, I've acknowledged I can't buy those shoes anymore. I can't even attempt it because it just fucking hurts my feet. Because I don't know if you guys know this, it was one of the first shoes. Also, not the one, but the one after that. They started molding it after the actual athlete, as opposed to here's the shoe, fit into that shoe. Now this is the actual athlete's foot, like that we're molding the shoe from. So it's not just a generic shoe that we're just stamping some athlete's name on it. But because of that, Jordan apparently has feet like an athlete, or that would service an athlete. And doesn't have feet that would service a 350-pound fucking 5'11" guy. So it doesn't really do me well.
No comment.
But
we need to make podcaster sneakers.
Yeah,
They're just Crocs. It's just Crocs. It's just Crocs. Let's not get maybe a slide, perhaps a chancleta, but it's literally the most unathletic shoe you can imagine.
But I would. So I love the topic of this movie. Before the movie was even made, I was trying to get to the movie theater to watch this movie. Luckily, I didn't have to wait that long because 2 weeks after it's released in theaters, Amazon Prime was like, you could watch it now, and I'm like, okay, Amazon Prime. Sold. And so I mean, but I was awaiting this movie. Viola Davis fucking crushed it. Apparently, when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who both wrote the movie, talked to Michael Jordan, first they asked him for his permission, and they said, according to report, they said that if Michael Jordan didn't want them to make the movie, they were not going to make the movie. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they say. And then he said yes, and then he asked. Ben Affleck asked, "Is there anybody in particular you want us to?" Because his mom, they said, "What are the characters in the movie? Like, what are the names that you need to make sure are in this movie?" And he gave them the list of like 5 or 6 people that need to be in the movie. And when his mom, when Jordan said his mom, Ben Affleck asked, "Is there anybody in particular you want to play your mom?" And before he could get the question completed, Michael Jordan said Viola Davis. And he's like, oh, I guess we got to give her like that. That was literally like, oh,
I wanted to play my mom, dude.
Yeah.
He must have had that like in his mind the whole time. Like every time he sees Viola Davis, he's like, that's my mom.
Yeah.
And then when they finally ask, like, who do you want to be? He's like, do you understand how long I've been like
it's like if I already have the answer in my head. Like if they're like, who do you want? The Rock. You need The Rock to play Neri. You need The Rock. And that's what it is.
I would kill to see The Rock pretend to be Neri.
Like, I don't think that's the worst fucking casting ever. I gotta be honest with you. We've already seen The Rock in a fat suit in the fucking Kevin Hart movie,
which is underrated. We were talking about this shit before we started rolling, but yeah, underrated performance from in that movie. I enjoy that movie because Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart, and like he is in every movie. But then again, like, well, here's the thing about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck kind of always plays kind of like a smarmy dude, especially when he's in a corporate setting. Have you ever seen Boiler Room? Like he comes in and he just does this fucking corporate speech. But Matt Damon playing an out of shape middle-aged guy, I was like, oh, that's not what he played. You know, like, oh, have I not been seeing?
One of my favorite things is that last scene when he's trying to fucking start running, and then he fucking runs for all of
And he
5 seconds.
quits.
And he goes, nope. And he goes, nope. Fuck this. Nope. Out of here. That's one of my favorite things. It is so true. It is so true because most movies, Hollywood movies, would be like, and then he started running, and he found the love of running. And Matt Damon was like, "Nah, bro, I'm not doing this shit."
I did enjoy watching what the 80s version of marketing was back in the day, right? Like they had like these commercials where it had like was it Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. I think those were real commercials.
Yeah.
And then the mock-ups of what they thought would be like, this is what advertising is. And then when you think back about how like crazy commercials were in the 80s, like how wild, especially like in the early 90s when it started getting all fucking like
extreme.
Yeah. You know,
well, that was late
80s,
late 80s and early 90s, especially anything targeted towards kids was just yelling and explosions.
Yes,
it was all like, get your Snuggie Bee, get your fucking what was it?
Capri Sun. Capri Sun was like fucking liquid metal.
I used to drink a drink back in '95 called Ah.
What was the other one? Mike? What was the one that we talk about all the time in Woobro? Blaster. Fuck. What was the
Surge?
game? The game.
Oh, Crossfire!
Crossfire!
It's a bunch of kids fighting in like a future Battle Dome situation.
By the way,
with leather.
Yeah.
Leather,
the most
boring
boring game of all time.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and it was like literally an explosion on the screen. Crossfire, and I'm like, oh Jesus! But that was marketing. That's the whole point. For those of you,
post-apocalyptic game that's gonna save the universe. Meanwhile, it's just marbles, hitting each other.
Crossfire. But that was marketing. That was marketing in the fucking 80s and 90s. Everything was just explosions. But I don't know, man. So I very much enjoyed this movie. I knew I was going to enjoy this movie just because of all the players involved. There's nobody in this movie that I would have been like, what the fuck? Like the only one I would have said that about would have been Marlon Wayans, but I didn't even know he was in the movie.
Right.
He was in the movie. So everybody that I knew of in the movie. Everybody that I knew going into the movie, I was like, I'm in. Like, you don't gotta sell me on it. I think it's great. It's fantastic. And then it was great. Like, it was as expected. I thought it was as expected.
Even seeing Chris Tucker play that role was so refreshing because he was like just enough Chris Tucker, but also like in a drama. You know what I mean? Like it was like he was just enough himself where it was like so beautiful that he would be that smooth talking like, I'm gonna make these parents sign a deal for you, kind of guy. You could
feel a little bit when he starts talking of Ruby Rod in there, a little bit, just a touch of that fast talking. He's older now, so his voice is like down here.
Yeah. What if he's not that it's older? What if that was his acting choice? I'm asking.
Then brilliant.
That'd be sick if that was his acting choice. Yeah.
I think because I think he played. I think as old as Chris Tucker is now, I think he still played older in this movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
Than what he actually is. So I'm hoping that it was an acting choice because I again something about watching comedians play dramatic roles and crush it. I take very like I'm like very like hopeful. I'm like that's great.
Yes.
What was your favorite scene in the movie? Let's start with Mercadal. What was your favorite scene? Was it the speech? A speech.
Yeah, it kind of all builds up to actually, you know what I enjoyed? The Jason Bateman, like knowing that they put everything on the line and there's like a conversation between because it really is just again a series of conversations, right? But I loved the agent talking shit to Matt Damon and Matt Damon like not giving a fuck. That like Matt Damon is so confident in what he's about to do. that he's like like the agent is yelling at him and calling him bullshit. And
David
calling
Falk.
him- Yeah, it was. I enjoyed the agent character shitting on, and then at the end they're like, "Hey, we're best friends." You know, like that. I genuinely enjoyed that whole exchange. Aside from what the movie was like building to, of course, it's the climactic scene where he's like, "Nobody understands you like I do. You are our guy." Blah 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 blah. You're a legend. You're going to be a legend. Like I see it already. That whole scene is, of course, number one. But I loved the shit talking agent back and forth with Matt Damon. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
BT, what's your favorite? BT's having Wi-Fi connectivity issues, but BT, what's your favorite scene in the movie?
My favorite scene. I told you it was a speech, man. That speech made. I mean, I loved everything, like you said, with the like you said, the conversations and how just like they put it all on the line, man. I mean, they fucking laid it out like it. I mean, we see the success, but to be living it and put everything you have on the line like that, fuck, man, that's so gutsy. Because I mean, like you said, and it's amazing to know that Nike really didn't have a dog in the fight when it came to basketball. That like Adidas ruled, you know what I mean? But seeing
It's weird
how
to
it
see
was
that.
an all German company, you know what I mean? And they're like kind of like, I think Michael just would have been another person in their little, in their lineup. And how Nike went and said, no, you're going to be the star here, and it's going to be all you, and we're going to have a personal hand with you. You're not just going to be like part of an assembly line. I mean, we take it for granted now, but why? That's the part that made me go, wow. But it still comes back to the fucking speech, man. God damn, Matt Damon, man, is so underrated.
Oh, yeah.
And that speech, it reminds me of that speech he did with Ford versus Ferrari. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that. So yeah, man, I have to go speech. All of it was good, and how he had to convince Phil, hey man, we got to do this, and I'm gonna put it on the line. But it goes back to that speech, bro.
Mike, what was your favorite scene?
Okay, I have two. One is the first like glory shot we see of the shoe.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, they make it like a porn. I mean, it is just like, it's like, here it is, dude. This is the shoe that changed everything. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. And then of course, I love the speech. One thing I will say that nobody's pointed out yet is the subtlety of Ben Affleck in that scene is so funny to me.
That he comes in late?
Because he purposely comes in late. It's just like, I was late doing manager shit or whatever.
Making it up.
And Matt is just killing this speech. And in his face, he's like, what are we doing? This isn't part of the plan. Like, Matt is just killing it. Like a shoe is just a shoe unless someone's in them, which is like, I mean, when they wrote that line, like, I mean, they had to take a lap around the office and
they're high-fiving each other like, yeah.
I mean, they got to go home early when they wrote that line.
Yeah.
Like, it was beautiful, beautiful movie. What a great movie.
My favorite, I love all those scenes you guys mentioned, which is basically the same scene. But my favorite scene, and all of those are great, not knocking it. My favorite scene is when Ben Affleck goes to see Viola Davis for the first time, and he literally goes, "I'm going to tell you exactly how each meeting is going to go."
Oh, Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon.
Oh,
when Matt Damon goes, I'm gonna tell you exactly. You're gonna meet with.
That was great.
And I'm telling you exactly how it's gonna go. They're all gonna have their red ties. They're all gonna go in there, whatever, blah blah. And then she goes, blah, blah, blah. And then when he gets to whatever it was, Puma, whichever one it was, that was German.
Adidas.
And he was like, when he gets to Adidas, and he starts doing the German accent, and she goes, just tell me that, just tell me. That. And they're gonna have 7 or 8 Rolexes. They're gonna have everyone's gonna have a Rolex. Everyone's gonna blah 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 blah. Like, they don't know who's in charge, so ask them who's in charge, and they don't know who's in charge. And like the fact that he called it, it was so like
is exactly what he said. Yeah,
that scene was great. But on top of that, the way the next scenes were edited and written it wasn't right away. Because they could have very easily done a montage of as he's talking. them
Yes.
show them the scenes, but they didn't. They made you wait for it. They made you go, you'll get, we'll get there. And when they got there, they showed us scene by scene, and it was fucking great, man. Jay Moore in this movie, huh? Talk
Yeah,
about another
Jay Moore,
comedy.
yeah.
Talk about another comedian in this movie. Holy shit, Jay
Yeah.
Moore in this
Out of
movie.
nowhere.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Out of nowhere.
he's
Out of
literally the
nowhere.
first person you see in the movie. He's the
Yeah.
first voice. You know, and, again, something about a comedian playing in dramatic roles that just really fucking does it for me. I really like do a fist pump in the air. But
Yeah.
I love that scene of him like explaining this is why we're not gonna match them financially, but you're gonna explain to you this is where you're gonna get. But I thought it was great, man. I thought it was really fucking good. I love the fact that they brought up all these like, oh, who we're gonna get? Oh, we get John Stockton. He's like, who the fuck want like that? Nobody wants to buy.
Yes, yeah, that was the thing I was explaining to my wife. I'm like, oh, that guy's very good now.
Yeah.
He was a legend in the NBA for
Nobody
20
was
years.
nobody was gonna buy a shoe. Nobody was gonna buy a John Stockton shoe. Nobody.
Yeah. Charles Barkley is like, Charles Barkley is exceedingly famous as the anti-Jordan at some point, at a certain point in his
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed the shit out of this movie. That was my favorite scene, was that scene. And then another thing that I wanted to say, because I know the story of this deal that went through. The one line that I wish would have been in the movie that I've heard the guy that Matt Damon actually played, he said this in interviews years ago, is that the head of Nike, when he was putting together his proposal, Matt Damon's character was putting together the proposal, and I'm sorry, I don't know their real names. But the head of Nike goes, do you work for Nike or do you work for Jordan or do you work for Michael Jordan? And the line that he gave was, if you want to get this right, you're going to want Michael Jordan to feel as if I work for him.
Yeah.
That line I thought should have been in the movie, because it's a line that he's said in the story. He's retold the story a million times, but retold that story publicly, and I thought that line was very important because it shows the audience, and it shows like it's not about Nike. Like, if you want it to be about Nike, you got to make it seem as you got to make fucking Michael believe that it's about Michael. And make it believe that I work for him. So I thought that was a line that we missed, but whatever. For what we got, I was very happy with what we got.
Well, they made it about the courting Viola Davis more than Michael Jordan. So I mean, like,
and I thought that was
the
very
perfect.
Good.
Yeah,
I thought it was good because the lure, the folklore is that they needed to get Viola. That's the folklore, is they needed to get Mike's mom before they can't get Mike without Mike's mom. You need to get Mike's mom on board, and then she could work. She could pull her strings behind the scenes with her son. So I thought that was important. I was like, oh, that's good. I want to go to the fact that Air is currently at certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes at 92%. So the question I posed. The question I pose to the panel, as I do every episode, Mike, is: do the critics, is the audience review higher or lower, and if so, by how much? What do you think the audience score is? Do you think it's higher or lower than the 92% certified fresh?
92 is high.
Yeah. You sound like the guys from fucking from Major League. Too high.
Too high. Yeah. I'm gonna say that the audience, man, that's a tough one. So I'm actually gonna take the under, but by like 5.
So you think 80 what? 83, 80,
89, 89.
You're saying 89. All right. BT, I know again you're having connectivity issues, but what do you think, higher or lower than 92%?
Yeah, this hotel, but say higher 90. I'm gonna say 90. I'm gonna say 98%. I'm gonna say
98. All right.
Oh,
98.
interesting.
All right. Mike, what do you think? Higher or lower?
Man, first time in my Movie Bros history, I think I'm gonna go lower.
Lower.
I always go higher, but I'm gonna go lower. I'm gonna echo Mike here. I thought it was 89. I'm gonna go 89.
So two Mikes are going with 89. BT's going with
high five
98. So the certified fresh 92 is the critics review with 318 reviews. With over 2,500 reviews, the audience score is at 98%. BT got it right.
Wow.
That is
Nailed it.
nuts.
BT nailed it.
Dude,
That's why
I
he's having connectivity
you know-
issues. He's on RottenTomatoes.com looking at.
I just weird that the fact I just
Yeah, no, we agree.
I said-
I agree. BT, we couldn't
Keep
hear
up.
anything you just said. Whatever you're just saying right now, we couldn't hear any of that.
Yeah, you're cutting out bad.
What is your
Damn.
review, Mike? What is your review and the review system that you're giving it?
I'm gonna give it 4.5 out of 5 wraparound sunglasses. The movie itself, it's again, if you know what it is going in, it is a great it is a great movie with talking, just straight up engaging conversation, and it again, well paced, like Mike said. That it is a 4.5 wraparound sunglasses, because I did love all of the very era specific things that they chose to do, especially the Nike offices.
Yeah.
I loved the look of I would live in the Nike offices, the leather couches with the open desks with those old ass computers. I just loved everything about the vibe of the Nike space, and that attention to detail was perfect.
All right. BT, what are you giving it? What are you rating it?
Yep.
There's 5 out. I mean, we touched on it, but I think we really can just,
BT, we can't hear a fucking word you're saying.
in the recording, it should show though, right? Like he should
I hope
be.
so. We're
I hope
hoping.
we'll figure it out.
We're gonna learn. We're gonna learn.
Give BT 10 seconds to unload with.
You guys are gonna agree to some out of pocket shit. That's not saying anything.
You can't hear me? You can't hear me?
No, we can't.
No, we can't,
You just came in right this very second. Give me a hand signal of a 4 or 5. What are we doing?
5.
Right?
5.
5 out of
5 out of
5. 5 out of 5. All right, 5 out of 5. Mike, what are we doing? What are you reviewing? What's your review score?
Damn. I don't know what my rating system would be. I don't want to give it a perfect 5, but I'm going to give it a pretty damn near close. So like 4.9 StockX credits. I don't know. I can't think of anything clever from the movie.
4.9 out of 5.
Wraparound Sunglasses was so good, so
I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 car phones. 5 out of 5 car phones is what I'm gonna go when you had those car phones.
Oh, I like that.
A
That's
suitcase
nice.
car phone.
Nice.
Or they're like, Chloe, where are you calling me from? There's a car. There's a phone in the car.
Yeah.
In the car?
Yes.
Yeah. It was either gonna be car phones for me or Michael Jordan's dad, who just smiles going,
Bro. It was hard watching that movie and be like, ha, that's the guy.
That's
it
was hard. Like, it's hard when I watch any movie based upon a true story. Like, because I always, the joke is whenever I watch a movie, like we were watching a couple weeks ago, we were reviewing Parent Trap. And Lindsay Lohan's in the movie, and I was like, and I always say this out loud to the TV. I go, "Hey, this is the future. You're not gonna make it." This like I always say that about, like I always like if I know the future, like if it's a movie based upon like stocks or like a company, like when I'm watching the movie Catch Me If You Can, and he's like working for Pan Am, and I'm like, "Hey, Pan Am, this is the future calling. You're not gonna make it," And I always say that.
I want to see the version of Parent Trap where modern day, or I guess like early 2000s Trainwreck era Lindsay Lohan is the British version of her that is probably successful and rich has to do an intervention for her sister who is now drug Trainwreck Lindsay Lohan. I would love to see that movie. Straight drama, no comedy.
Yeah. I'd like it.
Yeah. All right, so that's that for that movie. For Air, that's it for Act 1. That's a wrap on Air. We're moving on to the movie Up. Up is Pixar's Pixar's up. The synopsis is Carl Fredrickson, a 78-year-old balloon salesman, is about to fulfill a lifelong dream. Tying thousands of balloons to his house, he flies away to the South American wilderness. But curmudgeonly, Carl's worst nightmare comes true when he discovers a little boy named Russell is a stowaway aboard the balloon-powered house. That's the synopsis. I guess a little wordy, but all right, it works. The movie came out in 2009. I'm sorry. It made somewhat of money. The budget was $175 million, and the box office worldwide was $735.1 million.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I guess
that's not bad for a Disney movie.
Yeah. It is. I believe it's. I want to say. I wish I would. I should have done more research on it, but I forget which.
It won the Oscar that year, right?
Yeah.
What?
I'm pretty sure it won the Oscar that year, right?
No. Oh, for best
animated.
Yeah, animated. I mean, it's Pixar, so there's a good chance, bro. There's a good chance.
Yeah.
It should have.
It should have. I mean, it was fantastic. There was always that thing, but
unbelievable.
Mercadal, what were your accolades?
Once again,
it actually received nominations for Best Picture, not just Best Animated, but Best Picture.
Well deserved.
I think
Best Screenplay, Best Sound Editing, Best Animated Feature, Best Original Score. Those are the nominations that I got. And then what did it win? It won Best Animated. No, that's it. Oh, it won for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it was also nominated for Best Film. For best
actual, not just cartoons, baby.
Not just cartoons.
Yeah.
The
only other movie to do that is Beauty and the Beast, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That Beauty and the Beast got it?
Yeah, no animated movie has ever won, but to be in Best Picture is pretty crazy.
That's pretty good. I will say my again made the mistake. I was watching The Air Up There with George Clooney. The wrong film again, but I caught up and I eventually. I will say that I do not think Carl's worst nightmare is that what's the kid's name? Russell stows away. It's that his wife died.
100%.
That's his worst fear. Like all the stuff that happens after is like it's not his dream. His dream wasn't to take the house; it was to take her there. You know, he didn't want to take the fucking house to South America. Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, what can you say about this movie? It's like it's up. It's the one that the first 10 minutes is lethally emotionally gripping. Which I watched a couple of videos afterwards about like the writers and the directors that were like, yeah, we wanted to prove that you can make it an emotionally it has to be emotionally engaging. And I'm like, yeah, you got it. Fine. You win. We are emotionally engaged. Jesus.
So here's the thing. Yeah. I get where they're coming from filmmakers' perspective, but also this is Pixar, and it's not the first Pixar movie. So every Pixar movie is emotionally engaging. Like I think that's a bit of a again, and I get it that these movies are made 5-10 years in advance, so they don't. So maybe they went in there not knowing that it was. But let's be real. It's not the first Pixar movie that it's emotionally engaging. It may be the hardest hitting one.
I think what they meant is more along the lines of like in the world of animation, right? Sure. In the world of animation, you have to you construct the entire world, so everything in the world is built to elicit emotion. So even like in this, that's what they were focusing on. So they're like, we built everything to feel a certain way. The colors, you know, especially make anytime you see color in the movie, it's directly related. That's why Kevin is so colorful. Mm-hmm. Like they were like, we need to invoke like the audience to think of Ellie whenever they see color. Mm-hmm. So whether it's subconsciously or not, like all of this super psychological bullshit to go into this movie that is like was supposed to be hey, this movie is a kids movie. Mm-hmm. So much about this movie is not for kids. This is like the main bad guy is a Charles Lindbergh metaphor, who was a straight up Nazi.
Yep.
A straight up Nazi. So it's interesting to see that breakdown of like, also super cool dirigibles, and I love blimps, and I will never not be a fan of Tailspin's universe. And every time I see a dirigible or a blimp, I'm reminded of that stuff. The guys, I wanted Don Carnage to come out and his fucking Spy Pirates. Like, it was perfect. I love that whole vibe. That's my whole thing. Art Deco futurism, and
I love the idea of like Mike in a history class watching the fucking the blimp fire,
the Hindenburg
fire, and then he's like, "Oh, Don Carnage," like he's just like, "Oh, like
they got my boy Donnie."
Yeah,
damn.
Love it.
And of course, dogs that can fly planes. Who doesn't want? I mean,
of course,
it's a bear.
Dogs that talk, dogs that fly planes. It's all great.
Solid.
Mike, what did you I know, I mean, this must have a special place in your heart because they were like, they stole your likeness.
Yeah, they stole my likeness. I'm still waiting on paychecks, believe it or not.
Well, with the glasses, you're kind of a merge of both Carl and Russell.
Well, what I always say, I have a joke for anybody that does not know or anybody that is not watching this. What I always say in my stand-up is that I look like the kid from Up. Now, purposely, I say the kid because truly what I mean is Carl when he's a kid. Right. And but I just say the kid because that allows people to think it could be Russell, it could be Carl, it could be whatever, you know. Yeah. And so it kind of just like stops all the work. But once I've literally put the 2x2 placement, posted it on Instagram, and people are like, "Holy shit! Like this is wild!" Like, but yeah, like, dude. I mean, what can I say that Mike didn't about the first 10 minutes? I mean,
sorry,
Pixar guts you in those first 10 minutes, dude. Like, I mean, they're like, "Oh, you thought you had feelings?" Like, I mean, it's just like, it's wild, man. I mean, and the way that they're able to do things that are serious without being serious, like Randy Newman is also very crucial in that with the score because you're able to see, like, they don't say she has a miscarriage, but you know that that's what happened.
Well, all they need to do is put a picture of the embryo with an X, with the Ghostbusters. All they need to do with the Ghostbusters fucking like bah, like no. Like, that's the only thing that was missing is that one dude from Jurassic Park be like, That's all that was missing. Jesus. Yeah, they don't tell you it's a miscarriage, but that's like all that was missing. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it's true though. And then
my 8-year-old watched that movie and was like, oh, it sucks you can't have kids, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like they universally find a way without saying it. Like,
that's beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, to say like she has a miscarriage and now she's dying of cancer, sadly, and like, you know, like it's just, you know, and again, none of these things are, you know, they're ever said. I mean, it could be literally anything. She could have died of anything, but you just feel like, oh, it's
Lyme disease,
cancer, you
Lyme.
know. So,
Lyme.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny because you know, going back to what Mike said about how Pixar wanted to, you know, show emotion with all the colors and things like that. I had never heard that before, and that's actually a really good thing that I know that now, because like the movie kind of takes a flip because it just becomes a straight up kids movie, like right after those 10 minutes, you know, and because now it's like talking dogs and like, you know, colorful birds and like just a grumpy old man and a kid that, you know, resembles me, that has a lot of, that is, you know, just being cute and like, but old men hate them for some reason, you know, and then again,
they were painting with all the colors of the wind. You didn't understand that? You didn't get that? Like that's all. Look, dude. While we have you, BT, while your connection seems to be okay, what do you think about the movie? What do you? I know you like the movie.
Man, I mean, I kind of, I'm going back in time, but I vaguely think, and I'm pretty sure during the Academy Award time, that was like a big thing though, that how it should have been nominated for Academy Award.
Well, it was nominated. It was nominated for. It was nominated for Best Picture. It won Best Animated, but it was nominated for Best Picture. Yeah,
and I think the thing was, it was the Best Picture of the year, and they won, and it was almost like they treated like how they treat comedies. How they really don't give it the credit it deserves for for being the great picture that it is. It just doesn't put a foot wrong. I mean, like you said, to have an animated movie, and everybody always thinks it's almost like a family show on the cruise ship. It's not really a G-rated show. It's PG, but still, and like I said, to take
all right. So
a miscarriage and all the writing and know what it is without saying it.
Dude, all right. So here's why. Beautiful. So here's why the movie was never going to win Best Picture, right?
Okay.
It should have beat out the actual winner, and the actual winner was Hurt Locker. All right. But
I can see that.
I think I would vote for Up over Hurt Locker, right?
Me too.
Easily.
But here's the reason why I wasn't ever gonna win. Ready for this? Aside from The Air Up There, which is the movie that Mike ended up watching, aside from Air Up There, which was also nominated, the other ones that were also nominated was Precious, based on a novel by Sapphire.
Oh wow.
The District 9, Blindside with Sandra Bullock, Avatar. Oh, and this other little movie, this little independent movie called Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Up was never gonna win. Let's be real.
It's almost like no movie had a shot.
Yeah, it was. I think that's why Hurt Locker.
They all balance each other out.
I think that's why Hurt Locker won, because all of them canceled each other out, and then Hurt Locker was just like the one where everybody forgot about, and they're like, "Oh, nobody canceled us out." Okay. But that's why it was never going to win. That year was a stacked year. I mean, in all fairness, I love Up, but it was not going to beat Inglourious Bastards. If it did beat Hurt Locker, which it should have, it was not going to beat Inglourious Bastards. It was not going to be Precious. It was not going to be.
Yeah, it was better than Precious. Precious was good, but it wasn't better than Precious. I mean, it was better than Precious. I mean, Precious was good. It was good, but I mean,
again, when you talk about the Academy Award formula, that's. Precious has the Academy Award winning formula.
Oh yeah.
You have the underdog story, you have the minority being mistreated. You have the whole it's a whole thing, dude. They have they don't go full retard. True.
Yeah.
I hate saying that word, but I just love that line from Tropic Thunder. It's just
the greatest.
Such a great movie.
Scene.
I love how they try to cancel that movie every couple of years, and Ben Stiller's like, "You can't cancel this movie." Like, like you're never going to cancel this movie.
The greatest comedy ever. Yeah. So it's so inside and so everything. But you know what? But it almost applies to comedy in a way. You can't go too hard on the audience, but you got to find a way to make it almost mainstreamish, but still. So that's why it's one of the best of all time. But I still think, going back to Up, Up should have. Shit, man. I mean, there's formula, but I just think it wasn't
going to be Inglourious Bastards, BT.
I mean, Inglourious Bastards was great. It was great, but you can't say that the first 10 minutes of Inglourious Bastards is better than the first 10 minutes of Up.
I can make that argument. That's the scene where underneath the floorboards.
That's what I'm saying. It was a very it was a very intense scene, very intense. But at the same time, the fact is, wife died in the first 10 minutes, and then you find a way to bring it back.
Everybody died in the first 10 minutes of Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. Well, I do think the tone for you
to you're talking about one wife as opposed to the guy's wife, the guy's daughters, the girl's dad, the girl's sisters, everybody but the girl died in that fucking first 10 minutes of Inglourious Bastards.
And also the idea of the Holocaust happening.
Yeah, I do understand BT's point of like,
the movie's great. I'm not denying it. The movie's
they do all of this dark shit at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it's like you're going to have a good time in spite of what you just saw. So like literally you're there first 10 minutes and you're just like, geez, it's like you was talking about like a comedian where you do like a big bomb early on, but you can get him back. It's almost a bigger feat than if you had him the whole time.
And you dig a hole in the beginning and go, watch this, and you bring him back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
what-
Like you say some outlandish shit, and then you're like, and then everybody by the end of it, everybody's on board again. That
agree
is
with that.
actually like
agree with
a feat. It's like a very specific thing to have accomplished. I guess for this movie as well. Like how many movies shift tone or like you go in expecting a fun animated movie, they kick you in the balls in the first 10 minutes,
Yes.
and then by the end of it, you're like, what a joyous movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So-
rough.
I like that, as everybody talks about the first 10 minutes of Up, and but the comedy in this movie is really fucking great. It's something that it's a
agreed.
it's
Yes.
been since 2009 the movie came out, and I'm still watching, and I still quote the movie by saying shit like squirrel. Like whenever my
Yeah,
attention
Doug
Oh,
was
Yes.
hilarious.
absolutely.
squirrel,
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
in the lexicon.
the comedy is fucking gold in this movie. The heart is like, as far as the 10 minutes is brutal in the first 10 minutes, right? Like it's heartbreaking
very.
and it really catches you. The line to me that gets me is the one at the end when she goes, "It's time for you to go have another adventure." I'm like, God,
Oh, yeah.
and you
Yeah,
just
they
commit
kissed
that
the knife
fucking
one more
that
time.
Japanese suicide where you go, "Hey, yeah."
Yeah.
Well, the
Yes.
first 10 minutes, the
Yes.
people talk about the first 10 minutes, but they forget that the whole movie, there's a whole movie after that
Yeah.
that touches on it, is references to it, the relationship between Kid Ellie and Kid Russell. They mirror each other literally in the way that the scenes are presented. And again, it's all this kind of subconscious thing to say you feel the way that like Carl is like an introverted person, and then Ellie brings out that happiness in him by like forcing it, and then Russell forces him to like, hey, I need, like you kidnapped me in this house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the relationship where they're like, they bring out the thing in each other. Everybody else is everyone he meets later on references back to the original 10 minutes. The whole movie is about how the first 10 minutes is not the end of it's a hardship, but it's nothing is impossible to overcome. That's the whole point of the movie. But
Yeah.
everybody talks about how the first 10 minutes of Up is fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, but the rest of the movie is all about reclaiming the your life after tragedy.
Yes.
So it's like,
It's about dusting yourself off and then getting up and
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like
It's
it's like
an
Inglorious
the whole
Bastard.
movie is an Aaliyah song.
It's
Dust
like
yourself
Inglorious
off,
Bastards. The
again.
first 10 minutes is intense, but then it's about the Americans going over and killing all the Nazis.
exactly. Yeah. Jewish Americans.
Yeah.
It's a revenge plot.
All right, so what the He's like, we gotta make sure, we gotta clarify this.
It's true, though. That's what makes
It is. It's the whole point is that they are
They're
Jewish. Yeah, they're
All right, so critics have it at 98%. Higher or lower, Mike? For the audience,
How?
higher or
I
lower?
mean, the gambler in me is trying to win. So I think it's God, maybe 98%.
So you're saying the same. You're saying the
Audience
same?
score. I think audience score is the same. Is
Wait.
99.
All right, 99. So you're saying higher.
Yeah, one higher by
Mike
one.
V. Mike V. What do you think? Higher or lower than 98% for the critics review?
Man,
So, I
first
mean,
of
the
all,
critics
man,
have it at 98. Do you think it's higher or lower for the audience? Is what I meant.
I think I'm gonna stay at 98. I think it's 98.
All right, BT. What do you
I'm
think?
gonna say the audience gave it 100%. I can't just see somebody going to see this movie walking out going, I give it a 90. No, I think
All
they
right.
walked out going, this is the best goddamn movie I've ever seen.
So critics
I'd
have
give
it.
it 100%.
297 reviews give it 98%. That was the critics, and the audience score with over 250,000 ratings gives it a 90.
Oh, you serious?
Whoa!
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
Now-
I'm shocked.
time for your review, Mike. What are you giving it?
I give it. Oh God, you know what? I give it 4.9 awesome dirigibles.
Yes.
Out of 5. It is. God, for me, WALL-E is the perfect Pixar movie because I love WALL-E. But it's so subjective, like if you like Up, you like Up. If you like, so for me, it's dirigibles. Dirigible wins.
The
Wow.
Mike V, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it I guess I have to give it. I was going to give it 4.9, but I'm just going to give it the edge. I'm going to give it 5.5 Mike Valdez's.
5.5 me's.
Because BT, what are you giving it?
100% squirrels.
Squirrels. 5 out of
Oh.
5 squirrels. You're giving me 5 out of 5 squirrels?
My
5
heart.
out of 5
Love
squirrels.
it.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 those aviator hats with the goggles.
I like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
5 aviator hats is how I'm going. It's a great movie. It's a perfect movie.
Yes.
Just a quick tidbit to know about myself. I've said this before. Marvel movies, I've never cried in an MCU movie. I've come close to it a couple times. But the only times that I actually cried in an MCU movie was just recently in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I was
That
gonna
was the
say,
first
yeah.
time I actually cried. And I got teary-eyed. I got a little choked up in Guardians 2, Volume 2, which is not even which is a movie I don't even like. But that one scene when Drax talking about his daughter really got me.
Hmm.
I don't think there's a Pixar movie that I have not cried in.
Yeah.
Wow.
except
Accurate.
for like the sequels, The Incredibles 2 and Cars 2. Like that doesn't fucking don't count. I'm talking about original Pixar movies.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a Pixar movie that I haven't cried in, and it just goes to show. Like that's what I hate about the Academy, that they're like, these are but it's an animated movie. It's like, yeah, but animated is not a fucking genre. Like I don't understand. It's why are you making it a different
Guillermo
category?
del Toro is about to quit live action just to make animation, and he's like, I'm coming for. He's basically saying, I'm coming for your fucking necks.
Yeah.
Because
Good.
he's like, I'm gonna make movies that are gonna destroy. Like I'm gonna make animated movies back into like the movies.
Yeah. And you should, and it should. Like again, my brother's an animator, and he's told me for 15, 20 years he gets mad at the Oscars. He's like, animation is not a category. Animation is not a genre.
It's a medium.
It's a medium, and for them to they literally give them the Oscars just so that you shut animators up. Like, oh, here, take your little Oscar and move on. But they should be up there with the same best pictures as anybody else. And I agree. There's not a Pixar. You watch fucking Inside Out, and that fucking scene where
Shoot for this moon or what a bing.
yeah. Tell her to, oh fuck that. Tell her I
Shoot
said
for
hi.
the stars or something.
Oh, fucking brutal. Anyways, make sure you check out the other podcasts on the Geek World Network. That's it for our podcast now. We have to wrap up. Make sure you check out the other podcasts on the Geek World Network that are include but not limited to Chow Like at Best with Mike Valdez. There's gonna be another podcast that we're gonna add on called The Mikes, where it's just gonna be Mike Mercadal and Mike Valdez.
Yeah.
Why not?
Third podcast called The Valdezes, where it's just gonna be Chad Valdez and Mike Valdez, and that's gonna be third.
So busy and making no money.
Geekmore, what's up, bro? Chow Like at Best with Mike Valdez. Pero let me tell you, Cramacopia, check all these, Shiver, the horror movie podcast. Check all these podcasts out, man. Appreciate you. Geekworld.net. We love you guys. Thank you very much. And that's how